Afternoon to all of our change makers and social innovators all around the world. We're excited to welcome you to yet another amazing edition of the Social Impact webinar. Please type in the comment section where you're joining us from the part of the world, if it's from any part of Africa, any part of Asia, any part of America. Type in the comment section, share with us your name, where you're joining us from, the name of your organization, and your expectations for this edition of the Social Impact webinar. I am Oluwatoyin Banjor, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this amazing edition. And today's theme or topic for this month's webinar is scaling your social impact with AI, artificial intelligence. And we have no other person in the studio but the quintessential Ibiemi Pedro to do justice to this topic. We will have two segments. We have the segment that involves the presentation and then subsequently the question and a session where we get to answer all of your burning questions around this topic. So ahead of that, you can begin to curate your questions and type them in the comment section. And as well, we will definitely take them during that second part of today's webinar. All right, so I want to read for more of you guys. Please type in the comment section. Let us know where you're joining us from. We're indeed excited to have everyone tuning in from joining us from different platforms. We know some people are streaming from the LinkedIn Live platform. Some people are also streaming from YouTube as well. So we welcome every of our community members, everyone tuned in today. So great to have you with us on Molade Adebowale. It's Grace. I could also see Sixth Breed is also here joining us. Welcome on board, Sixth Breed Nigeria. We're excited to have you on board as well. All right, so let's just hit the ground running as quickly as possible. So let's meet our guest speaker in the person of Ibiemi Pedro Sonny. Ibiemi Pedro Sonny is a software architect, consultant, speaker, and experienced professional in business management, technology, entrepreneurship, and engineering. With a mini MBA and diploma in business management from the International Business Management Institute in Germany, he possesses a strong foundation in strategic planning and organizational development. He has also acquired certifications in software architecture and management consulting, further showcasing his expertise in these fields. He has been recognized as the second runner-up for top technopreneurs in Nigeria in 2019, and he is a proven innovator and has secured significant startup funding. He also has successfully owned and co-founded multiple startups in diverse industries such as education, technology, finance, real estate, and agriculture. EBME has a track record of deploying solutions in 5 countries and managing over 25 innovative projects. His entrepreneurial endeavors has made a global impact. We're super excited to have Ibiemi with us in the studio today. Welcome on board, Ibiemi Pedro.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much. I know you're joining us from the other part or other side of the world, but nonetheless, we are connected through technology and it's exciting. I can see Adeshewa joining us all the way from Uyo. I can see our Lady Ahoma. She's also in the building too. Lady Ahoma, thank you for joining us as well. I can see Victory joining all the way from LinkedIn as well. Thank you. And Adeshewa from all the way from Uyo. Thank you as well. All right, Ibiyemi, over to you. It's a show for this first segment, and then we'll have the Q&A session. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm introduction. sometimes I get humbled by some of these introductions. But I think today is going to be a great day. We are going to have some really interesting conversations about AI and how to scale your social impact. I think one thing maybe we could take from some of the introductions is the fact that I've spent a couple of time in software development and in the AI industry, generally in the tech industry. I studied mechatronics engineering. My goal while studying mechatronics engineering was to maybe become an AI engineer or a machine learning engineer. So this is something that I've been a bit quite passionate about, and I'm happy to be here. I've been talking about AI for some time. I share some of my understanding, some of my predictions, what I think best practices, and how people should use AI. And I think using it for social impact is probably one of the greatest impacts of AI. As I believe that social organizations are probably one of the biggest beneficiaries of what AI could truly deliver. So I hope today, as we get into the conversation itself, that we are going to explore more of this. So yeah, I would like to start with the first thing, discussing the history of work, because I believe the history of work shows where we are and how we have gotten to its AI, right? If we go to the next slide, if we are going through the history of mankind, right? If we start looking at how we as humans as we have evolved, the first evolution is probably around the agrarian time. Basically, I don't know if we are familiar with Vikings or the movie Vikings, then or all of these old movies that we usually watch. They usually show what our lives used to be, right? Our ancestors. For some of us that are religious and are Christians, Adam, Eve, agriculture, and all of that. So that was what we had before, and there's a reason why I wanted to talk about the history of work, so we can see how we have evolved as humans and see the role AI play in our current age and time. So we move from where everybody, is trying to consider agriculture. We are trying to look for what to eat. We are farming, the Stone Age, and all of that, to the Industrial Revolution. And at that time, we started inventing electricity as humans. We started inventing a lot of things: the train, the aeroplanes, and all of that. And then we move from the Industrial Age to the Information Age, where ICT began to boom, the internet, the phones, the devices. And now a lot of people are now thinking of purpose. This is, I think, more of a more recent age. People are now thinking purpose-driven work. Social impact work is beginning to take, a big stage. Last 2 weeks, I was in the Viva Tech, and there was a conversation on social impact. A couple of years ago, people that did social impact almost felt like it was something different. But now organizations are seeing or looking for innovative ways to bring in social impact in their active organization. So people thinking about their purpose, thinking of what to do, thinking of how to impact lives is beginning to take more prominence. And now we are slowly getting to the age where people begin to think of purpose. But then the more interesting thing about this history of work, or the history of how we have developed as humans, is if we begin to look at statistics like the world population, the number of organizations, the size of data we have, the evolution of mankind itself, like the human brain itself. If you begin to look at the number of diseases that are known and a whole lot of other things that have evolved through this time. And I try to capture, some of them in the table that we can see below. You can see in the early days, the population was around 500 million. Now we are over now in 2022, 23, we have over 6.5 billion people in the world, if you are considering the latest statistics. And we can see the growth in the numbers from 500 million to 5-6 times that number. The number of organizations, in the olden days, there were no statistics. That's why we are seeing unknown there. But if we begin to look at the information age, there were like 120 million organizations. And now we have over 334 million organizations. And then one factor that stands out the most is the size of data we have. And I don't want to, boast with all of these numbers, but the amount of data we have now is truly enormous. And the reason why I'm talking about all of this is is to show us how we have evolved. Given that humans have changed rapidly, organizations have, changed rapidly. A lot of sicknesses have come to the world. Some sicknesses that we did not know exist before. A lot of people would argue that cancer is a pretty recent disease to that 120 years ago, 200 years ago, 250 years ago, people did not know that cancer existed. And these are some of the things that have evolved with humans. There are machines that do really, really complex things these days. There is need to, farm the ground. There are tractors, and there are a lot of complexities, right, in our current world as we have grown as humans, both the history of work and the history of humans. But in the next slide, what we are going to see is while humans have grown, or while the history of work itself has grown, how much has human capacity evolved, right? I think this is the most important thing. Given that work has grown all these years, now if we begin to consider the human, which is at the center of all of these things that have grown, how much have we grown? As a human being, how much have our strengths improved? If you look at, say, somebody in the olden days, maybe an example of, okay, Muhammad Ali is pretty recent, but if we consider Muhammad Ali a couple of years ago, a fighter a couple of years ago, and Anthony Joshua, a more recent fighter, in terms of strength, has the human strength increased exponentially? Can we carry, say, 20 times the things humans 200 years used to carry? The answer is no. The brain capacity that we have, look at Albert Einstein, people that invented electricity, people that invented really phenomenal things that we use today. And let's look at more recent entrepreneurs or recent innovators in the world. Elon Musk. If you look at Albert Einstein and Elon Musk, would you say that the human's brain has drastically improved in significant ways? Not really, right? So the years have changed, the population of the world has changed, the number of diseases in the world have changed, the number of organizations we have in the world has changed, but the human itself at the core of it has not changed. And now if we go to the next slide that we just saw, talking about how we have coped with this complexity, given that everything around a human being, right, has changed, but the human itself has not really evolved that much. How will the human handle this complexity? And I think that's where I've been going with all of my points. Before, what we did before was, when you want to handle more, you have to work more hours. But then sometimes working more hours might not cut it. So you decide to bring in more workers, right? Something that maybe you should do alone. You bring in your children, you bring in, a co-worker, you pay salaries and all of that. And, we use manpower. But then at some point, manpower could not cut it. We started inventing machines. We started inventing computers to help us make things faster. Instead of you using typewriter to type things for a very, very long time, today you use the computer to type it. We even have voice prompts, right, to help us. But then things keep improving, right? The complexity of things around us as organizations, as individuals, keep getting, more complex. And how do we handle it? And this is where AI comes, right? And this is how the whole evolution of AI. And one thing I would want to talk on a little bit about AI is the fact that AI has been around for a very long time. AI started around 1945 or thereabouts, and the research continued to like 1960. And people have been making deep progress in AI even from the early 2000s, 2006, 7, 8, 9. People have been making really, really phenomenal advancements in AI. It's just that it's in 2023, 2022 that the general use case of AI has become more commonplace for people to see. But AI has been around, and AI is like the next phase in we handling the complexity. Consider the amount of data that is available in the world. A human being will not be able to process that amount of data. Consider the amount of data that we have in the world. A human being will not be able to work with all of those things. So because of that, we need systems that can help us analyze all of these things. As a business, say you are a business that you started around 2010, and you have been tracking the number of people that buy from you, the number of customers that you've provided value for, and all of that. And this is 2023. You have 23 years of data to work with. It is not going to be easy for you to give that to a business analyst to work with and give you insightful data. It might get complex. The business analyst might miss things. So because of that, we need things that are even more intelligent to help us manage these things. And that is where AI comes in. So the next thing I'm going to try to do is to try to briefly talk about AI, my understanding of AI and the basic definition of what AI is. And in the history of AI, AI is described as, imagine we carry out an experiment, right? There are two entities. There is one entity and another one. This one is a human being. This one is a machine. and then you interact with these entities, like you talk to them, you ask them questions, you try to, interact with them, right? And at the end of your interaction with them, if you cannot tell the difference between which of them is the human or which of them is the computer, then the entity itself is said to have achieved intelligence. That is artificial intelligence, because it is not a human, it is a computer, but you cannot tell the difference between that computer and a human, then you can say that computer has become intelligent. And there's been a lot of research that has been done, a lot of progress in technologies that has been done, and there are a lot of complexities that we can bring into the definition of this simple thing. But AI simply means an entity that is not a human, that if you interact with it, or if you interact, I think is the word. If you interact with it, you cannot tell the difference between that particular entity and a human being, then you say that that entity is said to be, artificially intelligent. So moving on, the next thing that I would like to talk about next is if AI is good or bad. And I think this is a question a lot of people have been asking. We have a lot of people have asked the question of if AI is good or bad. And the answer I try to give is a simple one. If there is an entity, I'm going to use the word entity again. If there is an entity that has the capacity to make a choice, and in the list of choices it has to make, I'm trying not to be too technical. In the list of choices it has to make, there is a bad choice, and an entity has to make a choice. It means there is a possibility that that entity can make a bad choice, right? I would maybe explain it from a different light. Consider human beings, and you ask the human being to choose between multiple things. And out of that things a human being should choose from, some are good, some are bad. The fact that there is a possibility that a human being can choose something bad, it means that bad is a possibility. So my point is this, bringing it to AI. AI is not good or bad. The use of AI can be good or bad. And that's the simple, answer to if AI is good or bad. AI is intelligence. And I don't think intelligence, or I would agree that most of us would believe that intelligence is not a bad thing. AI is intelligence. But then there are intelligent people that use their intelligence for really terrible things. And there are intelligent people that use their intelligence to change the world. And that is the underlying answer to the answer if AI is good or bad. And the true danger in AI lies with the humans using it or creating it. Now, let me talk a little bit about AI, talking about if AI is good or bad. AI is as effective as the amount of data you're using training the data. So AI is artificial intelligence, and the lifeblood of artificial intelligence is data, right? So I made an example before. If you have a business that you have been running since 2010, and this is 2023, and you're trying to decide what new products do you want to bring into the market, or which part of your business do you want to try to optimize. You want to see where you are spending a lot of money that you are not supposed to be spending. You are trying to see where to gain cost leadership in the market. You're trying to analyze your competitors, or you're trying to analyze your business processes, and you're trying to see which of them you should improve. You're trying to see should you move to technology or not, or you are running a supermarket and you're trying to decide what should I bring to the front. A lot of us see this. Some of this comes from research. If you go to a supermarket, they bring goods about women and put them in the front. Ladies, if you go to a shopping mall where they sell clothes, female clothes is usually in the front and the male clothes are usually at the back, and it's psychology, it's intelligence, right? A woman would see it and then go in. A man wouldn't care, but then that a man or a female is going to a woman is going to drag a man into the store, right? If I am passing by a store with my wife and she sees something and she goes in, I would have to join her and go in. So they don't care, they don't mind putting the male clothing at the back of the store. But the female nice ones, flashy ones, really nice shoes, and all of that, they put that in front of the store to bring you in. And if you are running a business and you're trying to see, what you put in front of your dashboard, what do you put in your social media? How do you arrange your social media? How do you make people read your website and decide to go ahead and interact with you? How do you craft your message, through the users that you've had and all of that? And you need intelligence to do this. It is the data that you supply to the AI that the AI is going to use it, say, okay, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. And because of that, the quality of data that goes into AI is the biggest factor in the efficiency of the AI. So even companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, and the big tech companies that use AI, the quality of data that they supply is really, really important. Imagine you are using user data and half of your users are bots. You are trying to make a decision on users, and half of the users are bots, are not actual real users. And you feed this information to the AI. AI is going to, by default, assume that your typical user is a bot. So the quality of the data that we use is one of the good factors in what happens to AI. So the true danger in AI lies with the humans using it, whether we are using it for good or for bad, whether we are programming the AI to, or the AI tools we are using, if they are taking our data and using it, for some other thing that breaches security. And I think that is the true danger in AI, is the people that are using it. And then the next thing I want to talk about is if AI is for everyone, given that AI is neither good or bad, but then it is the use of AI that determines whether it's good or bad. Then the next thing I would like to talk about in the next slide is AI for everyone? And to answer this question, if AI is for everyone or if AI is an organization, you are going to see like 3 screenshots. There are more of that, but there are like 3 screenshots that I found from really top websites, Bloomberg, and some business websites, and all of that. And one thing you could see, one big theme you can see across these screenshots is that artificial intelligence could be the great equalizer. In the beginning of this presentation, I talked about the fact that I honestly believe that social organizations can be the biggest beneficiaries of AI because the way social organizations are structured, they might not have as much resources as for-profit organizations, like purely for-profit organizations. And in situations where you cannot have as much resources, every little advantage you can get is going to help you. So in these articles or in any of these articles that you are seeing here, the summary of it is this: AI is intelligence that can be available at a really, really affordable price. And if the difference between a Fortune 500 company and a startup or a social enterprise or a company that is just 2 or 3 years is in terms of data and intelligence, and we both have access to the same intelligence, then we are on equal footing, really. It makes it easy for a company that just started in Nigeria last year to compete against Uber or Taxify or Google, or okay, maybe Google might be a far-fetched because they're already a huge company and they've been around for a very, very long time. But it can make them even attempt to start up. They can stand in the same. We can discuss on equal footing because I have access to an intelligence that you also have access to. And AI is, once you have access to the intelligence, it's something that is available for everybody. What is now left is in terms of application. And this is why I believe that it can be the social enterprises can gain a lot from AI, because AI truly, I believe truly that AI is capable of being the great equalizer. It already even is, because a secondary school student can compose a paper that a professor in a university would think his equal composed using AI. A secondary school student could design something that the software engineers from the best paid companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, and the likes would design, and it will look as if it's the same quality because we have access to the same resources. So the resources that used to be hidden from organizations can now be available for everyone if we tap into AI. And this is for both professionals, organizations, social organizations, small and big organizations. I believe truly AI can be the great equalizer, and it can set everybody on equal footing. And from that, I'm going to now talk about the use of AI in social organizations. I was talking about AI being used in social organizations and how it can be used in social organizations. So I want to tell us a very short story about AI, the use case of AI in social organizations. So a couple of weeks ago, I was reading about this company, Charity Water. And what they did was the founder came to Africa, spent some time in Africa, and then went back to the US and realized that the quality of water in Africa was really bad. And in a bid to do that, he tried to improve the situation. And he, being who he was, according to him, he said the only thing he knew how to do at the time really was how to throw parties, because he threw a lot of parties. So he said the only thing he knew how to do was to throw parties. So his initiative was this: he's going to throw party, and the amount of money you make from the party, say from the drinks, from the entry fee, and all of that, he takes that and then sends it to Africa and uses it to provide clean water for a particular community. But then he started realizing some issues with some NGOs, which could be trust. I think this is some issues with people that say a professional, an individual, an entity tries to give money to an NGO, and you want to be sure that the money or the resource you give to the NGO actually goes to the use you expect it to be used for. And of course, we all understand it takes resources to run an organization. So imagine you get some amount of resources in terms of money, but then you have to run an organization. So you have to take things like operating costs, salaries, and things like that. And the what comes out from it, you want to use it to do the social work you're actually supposed to do. So he was looking for ways to help improve all of this. So he was looking for a maximum, an optimized way of running an organization, right? So when someone gives 50 cents to help in providing clean water for a society, the person sees 50 cents worth of value created in that society without any part of it going into the NGO, right? Not like going into the NGO, without any part of it being used to run the organization. I think this was one of the problems he talked about in his documentary that I was watching. And then he found a way to figure this out. So he decided to raise, he talked about there are some organizational things he did in between, raising money for running the organization separate from raising money for the social impact. But then more importantly, he started to use devices to, when he installs a borehole or a water source in a community, he puts a satellite image there, right? A GPS device, he attaches it to the water, and the people that contributed to that would be able to monitor and see exactly where their money goes. But then this is not where he used AI. The place where he used AI really was, the key point that I highlighted there was that after creating this huge network, he used AI to begin to analyze, to see. So being in America, he can use AI to predict where in Africa needs water the most from all of this data that he has gathered from the satellite devices, the outreach that they've done, some of the physical implementations that they've, infrastructures that they've put in place, and some of the organizational things that he talked about without getting into too much of the details. But with AI, they can improve they can maximize the value that they create for Africans, both on the people that invest or people that want to do good. And now, he does something that every birthday, he gives his birthday and then asks his colleagues to give their birthday, and all of that. So there is a whole lot of elaborate plans that he did, but then he used AI to maximize where to mount each of these ponds, where these water sources, like the boreholes, and how people can track and know where their borehole that their money went into, and all of that. So these are some of the things that this particular organization, Charity Water, did. And of course, there are other ways where they used AI, but this is probably like the most impressive part of what they did, because this sounds a little bit complicated. But there were other places where they used AI to improve their organization, improve their processes, and make it easy for people's money to go directly into funding projects that they truly care about. And this leads me to some other things that we are discussing now, talking about Charity Water and other social enterprises. So there are challenges that social enterprises face, and I think that's the next thing I want to talk about. Crafting from this, looking at social enterprises and social organizations that we have, that is our focus. There are challenges that social enterprises face, right? And I expect this to be a bit more interactive. Of course, I could have listed some things that I think I know, some things that I've seen from my research. But then I would like us, for those of us that have joined us live, as a social organization, if there are challenges that you faced, you can just leave it in the chat so we can discuss those together when we start our Q&A session. So as a social enterprise, if there are challenges that you face, you can drop them, but you can just drop them in the chat. But two things that I highlighted is one, limited resource, and two, complex problems. In terms of limited resource, it could be in people, it could be in idea or insight or in knowledge or in intelligence that social enterprises might lack because of some things, maybe resources that they don't have or money. Also, some other things that may also face might be money. Another issue or another challenge social enterprises might face is the complexity of the problem. Because as a social enterprise, you often find yourself solving multiple problems at the same time, even when you're supposed to solve the same problem, or when your idea is supposed to solve one problem, but then you find yourself solving complex multiple problems, and this is a challenge. Say the example of the organization I talked about before, Charity Water. Their problem that they wanted to solve was to provide clean water for people in Africa. But then quickly you begin to realize things like language barrier. You might realize that disease is also a problem, which is not directly related to water, but indirectly related to the water, right? And you find yourself in the middle of trying to solve complex problems, and you are looking for ways to navigate this, or how to align your vision, align your strategies as an organization, to solve the problems you want to solve. And then there are other problems, like I said, let's discuss them, add them in the chat button so we can discuss them later on. But there are a couple of challenges social organizations face, and these two are like the highlights of some of these challenges. So given that we know the challenges that social organizations face, and some of them that I've mentioned, and some of them that we face as social organizations that are here, the next thing I want to talk about now is how do we use AI to solve these challenges in social organizations? And I think that is like everything that we have been discussing is leading on to this point. How do we use AI to solve problems in social organizations? And in my organization, AI is the extra teammate that we don't have, right? And it is that teammate that does everything. AI is like assistant operations, because there's somebody that's in charge of operations, then AI does some of the dirty work that the operations person is supposed to do. So, but these are some of the use cases of AI that I believe social organizations can get the best from. Remember, like I said, AI can be the great equalizer, and social organizations stand to gain probably the best or the most from AIs. And these are use cases I believe social organizations can use AI for. One of them is as a software developer. And I'm going to talk about this, a little bit from my own personal experience. I get sometimes really busy, right? Doing a lot of either consulting work or organizational management or a lot of meetings. Sometimes, meetings, and I believe some of us that run organizations are probably much familiar with this, schedule of, from one meeting to another, and having to prepare one thing, having to prepare a document, working towards one thing or the other thing. But then I still find joy in writing code because in my organization, I occasionally try to look at the code that is being written. I even try to build features myself, right? But the reason or the only way I can build features faster, better, and that they are quality, given that this is not what I spend my time mostly on, is with AI. I'm not sure if we have heard of Copilot, but I have Copilot. I pay, I think, about $25 for it per month, per year. I'm not sure of the pricing, but it was a free version before, but now it is paid. But it's not for me. I wrote an article on how this Copilot has really helped. The price I pay is nowhere compared to the value I get for Copilot. It can generate a whole code for you. So you could work with one or two software developers and create applications that 10 or 12 developers could have worked on. If you have one or two developers that are dedicated using Copilot as an organization, you could build your softwares faster, better, more robust, with GitHub Copilot. And as a content manager, I think a lot of us at this point, I want to believe a lot of us at this point should not be strangers to Chat GPT. because I think that was like the application itself that made AI blow up, right? And you don't want to know how much content are generated from ChatGPT all over the world daily. And if you're not using ChatGPT, I want to believe everybody here is using ChatGPT. For the benefit of those that are not using it, if you're not using ChatGPT, and there's ChatGPT, GPT-4, and the advanced versions of ChatGPT, but the basic free one is ChatGPT. And if you're not using it, you are really missing out on a lot of valuable quality content that you could have created. It could create plan for you, it could create a strategy for you, it could generate the content itself for you. And my hint or my advice for people that are using ChatGPT is understanding the prompts to ask ChatGPT. An example: we are a social organization focused on this, and that, and we are trying to launch a social media campaign. Can you draft a social media plan for the campaign Good Water for African Children? And it is supposed to last for 6 weeks. And draft a content calendar for us and see what ChatGPT does. More interestingly, if ChatGPT prints something for you and you're not okay with it, you can just say, not good enough. Can you improve on this? And see what ChatGPT will do. Or it drafts it. Sometimes this is something more recently. I was working on a piece of an article that I wanted to post. And after crafting my article, I'm going to talk about this part, working with AI. I'm going to talk about this. After crafting my content, I put it on ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to summarize this for me. And it summarized it. I was like, can you make it a bit more technical? And it begins to use the right keywords for you, and you would understand in content the importance of keywords, the importance of hashtags. Craft a content for LinkedIn for me, focused around my social organization that is doing this, that is doing that, and that is doing that, and see ChatGPT do. And these are, you can come up with a plan, schedule, job descriptions, contracts, but then please let us mind security. I was going to get to this. So in terms of because I talked about contracts. So contracts are probably things that have security concerns that you have to privacy and security issues. So try to think of security. But then I'm just saying ChatGPT can help you. And same as personal assistants, ChatGPT can help you schedule, not ChatGPT alone, other AI tools can help you schedule, can help you plan things. A lot of us, I don't know if you've heard of Google Bard, which can even help you export things to Excel sheets for you to use later, and then plot graphs and plot table. Even Excel, Google Excel, Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, they have AI features that if you just upload your Excel, there is an AI feature that would help you extract insights that you don't know exist on those Excel sheets. It will just tell you, just ask it to extract insights that it can see from this document. It can begin to plot the age range versus the gender versus the number of orders versus the sales, and then begin to tell you during the morning period of September, from 1st to 5th, you sold more male wears than an AI will do all of this for you. And this is the work of a business analyst, of a customer service rep. They are AI customer service rep. And back to what I said, where I believe social organizations can gain the most from AI. In the previous slide, we talked about some of the challenges of social enterprises being limited resources. If you have AI to help you as a content manager, as a personal assistant, as a business analyst, as a customer service rep, and all you have to pay is, say, a sum of $30 per month, which if you convert to Naira, I'm thinking now, I want to believe it's less than 20,000 Naira. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the calculation. But let's assume everything you have to pay for all of this rounds up to like 30,000 Naira a month. And you get quality resources that compete against global organizations. I think the value is there, right? The value is really immense. It sets you up to be able to, you can you can compete on even footing with companies that have even more resources because you are correctly utilizing AI tools. So I believe social organizations can use AI, immensely. So the next thing I want to talk about, given that I've talked about how social organizations can use AI tools, I want to talk about some of the tools that I should use. I know I mentioned some of them already, but then I'll try to talk about some of them. So I talked about GitHub Copilot. Again, in the next slide, I made some screenshot of some of these tools so you can see what they are. So you might not maybe read everything that is on the slide, but then on this slide, I have 4 different tools. The first one is your AI pair programmer. That is for GitHub Copilot. You can introduce it to your tech team. You might not need as many tech team, and you might not need as much people on your tech team as you have. If you can have, few efficient people that are using AI, right? Chat GPT, I think we are very, very familiar with that. The other one is fireflies.ai. At the bottom left, you see automate meeting notes, which could be really, really helpful. I talked about using AI as a personal assistant. If you have meetings a lot, you are a CEO that talk a lot, and you want someone to have to join meetings, and draft out, the highlight point of your meeting, use Fireflies, and then it transcribes everything of the meeting to you, and then you can use it later on. And then this particular one that I have on my right left, that's Synthesia. The name of the organization is Synthesia, and it's used by companies like Google, AI. You can check it, Synthesia, as in Synthesia, Synthesia. I think that's the name of the platform. You can create videos. You don't need to shoot videos. All you need to do is to create scripts. And the script, you can create it using another AI tool. Tell ChatGPT, for instance, create a script for a marketing campaign for our children wellness program that we are organizing next month, that is supposed to last for 10 minutes. And I want this, interestingly, you can give these AI tools like ChatGPT the tone you want. You want it to be, emotional, you want it to be captivating, and all of that. And then it's going to craft it for you, and you upload it into Synthesia and choose the avatar. And in Synthesia, like I've used Synthesia, you can see a black woman's avatar, a black man's avatar, different intonations, different voice, and that's why you can see 120 languages, 140 diverse AI avatars, no equipment or video editing needed, and all of that. It's really, really powerful. And in the next slide, I mentioned some other tools that you can use, and one of the tools there is Google Bard, and I just wanted to talk about what Google Bard can do. That's why I made 2 of the screenshots. It can draft a design brief for your bookstore, your new logo, and export it to a document. Imagine that. Instead of getting a designer or having to outsource some of the work you'd want to do, you can ask Bard to craft a design, a brief for your bookstore, your new logo, and export it into Docs. And then Bard can craft an email accepting a job offer and export it to Gmail, and you can send it straight up. And then the last one that is here on this list is images.ai. Images.ai is, you can see describe anything, a smiling frog mixed with a robot, and then send it in. And images.ai is going to craft a smiling frog for you, that is mixed with a robot. And if you want it with any other thing, just describe it there, and then ask images.ai, and you begin to get content, right? Content that you can use for your social media platforms, content you can use for your promotions, all created by AIs. Some of them are free, some of them are not, but even the free ones even still do pretty much amazing stuff. And these are some of the power we have to using AI. And then before I go, I want to talk about 2 points or 3 points before I leave. And the next point I would like to, or before the end of this talk, the next point I would like to talk about is guidelines to using AI. I know I talked about tools we want to use in AI, and I want to talk about this shortly after, because I think it is really, 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 really important. One thing I would like to say is, as powerful as AI is, I think we should take good care while using AI. I'll be one of the first person to preach to you on how to use AI, on which AI to use, but I'll also preach to you on the best practices of using AI. And these are like the guidelines that I've made. Identifying the use case and clear objective, right? I talked about AI as a personal assistant, AI as a software developer. So what do you want to use AI for in your organization? Not just we want to use AI. And I think this is the beginning of not maximizing it or even misusing it. Misuse is a possibility with AI, and it is punishable by some issues that you can face along the line. So identify the clear use case and your clear objective. Consider the ethics and privacy when using AI tools, and it is important, especially the ethics and the privacy part. A lot of people use AI without care, right? AI is a really, really powerful tool, and it's at the edge of technology. And because of that, things like cybersecurity is extremely important with AI because it is a powerful tool. So let me mention this, or let me talk about this quickly. For this, I was listening to some speech of some people talking about, why they don't want to use AI or the issues they might face with AI. And one big issue is the fact that imagine something that is more intelligent than humans. Would humans be able to survive if there is something more intelligent than humans? And that is like the big fear. So it is important to watch out for privacy when using AI. It is important to validate for correctness and for bias, and when using AI, understand that I talked about data before, right? It is the data that it is being fed into AI that determines how an AI functions. So if Google feeds AI with a specific set of data and you ask an AI created by Google, it is only going to give you information based on the data it is being fed. Imagine a Nigerian creates an AI, and the Nigerian is somebody that lives in Lagos. And a Nigerian living in Lagos creates an AI based on all of his experiences in Lagos. The experience of traffic, experience of, every other thing that goes in Lagos. If somebody outside Lagos tries to use the AI would assume there's always traffic on the road, right? And this is probably some issues some people have faced, when you train a model to identify what a dog is, and it sees a cat and it assumes it's a dog. So this is for you to validate for correctness, for bias, and for fairness. If you are using AI used by other organizations, understand that the organization used the data to model that AI. And AI is just a model, just like a human being. Every human being have their own bias. Like a typical example is the just concluded Nigerian election. Everybody have their own choice. So if you go and meet someone that supports one and you are trying to ask some questions, understand that the person is going to give you the answers based on his alliance, and all of that. So understand that. And the most powerful advice I'm going to give us as to how to use AI is this: AI is intelligent, but humans are engineers. I think that's the most powerful advice I'm going to give us as to how to use AI. AI is intelligent, but humans are engineers. Some people fear the fact that AI might take human jobs. I don't think AI will take jobs. It's just going to create, new type of jobs, and we would need to grow, adapt, and learn new skills, which we have been doing all through ages as humans. So we need to learn new skills. It's going to create new types of jobs, and some types of jobs would leave. That is true. But then understand that while AI is intelligent, you as a human being, you are capable of moments of magic and genius that AI would not be able to, at least not at this time. And understand that you yourself, you have capabilities to think outside the box. AI thinks in the box of where it was created. You as a human can think outside the box. And because of that, don't always depend on AI. Even if you use AI to craft something, you as a human with higher ingenuity, review it, reward it. This should be more, warm. This should be more welcoming. This should be more personal. Do that. Don't just depend all on AI because it is intelligent. And then consider the impact on your team. A lot of people are not, like I mentioned before, some people think AI will take their job. Discuss with your team, know how your team is going to use AI, how it is going to work in your organizations. Keep your team updated. AI is a very, very new technology. We are still in the early stages of AI. We have not used 10% of the capabilities of AI. So it's still very early. And 5 years ago, nobody knew what AI was, at least on this level. But now everybody's talking about AI. So keep your team updated. And while keeping your team updated, monitor and evaluate the use of AI consistently. Because again, privacy, ethics, and all of that is a big issue. Don't just think that because ChatGPT has worked for you 5 times in a row, you just send anything to ChatGPT and then you get it and then use it. Always monitor and evaluate consistently to be sure that it is doing the work you expect it to do. Because this AI keeps learning with data, and then depending on the data that the AI gets, the AI is going to make the decision. Then the last point on this is the challenges and the opportunities that we have with AI. And in terms of challenges, I think I've mentioned a lot of them. And in the opportunities, I've also mentioned a lot of them. But to highlight them, bad actors. There's no danger in AI. AI is not a bad thing, but the people using AI or creating AI can be bad. I can create an AI to do good, or I could create it to do something really terrible. It doesn't make AI bad. It makes the person creating it a bad person. And we all know humans in the world have capabilities for bad. Security is a very, 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 very big issue. A lot of us have not been taking security really, really important before now. And now that we have a system that is really, really intelligent, if somebody decides to use that intelligent system to exploit someone that has not been taking security very important before, then the damages could be catastrophic. So security is a big issue. Privacy. Don't share information with AI that you should not share. Something I should have added in the guideline to using AI is every organization should have a guideline for using AI within the organization. Know what to share, what not to share. Know which data to share, what data not to share. Financial projections, plans, strategies. Names of competitors, names of if there are some of these things you don't want to share, know when not to share it. And if you want to maybe ask AI something, change the names, change the scenarios. Like I said, you are capable of ingenuity. Change the scenarios, ask AI, get your answer, change the answer the way you want it to fit your scenario, just for security reasons. And then understand that there is possibility for bias and bad inputs. And then understand the societal impact. AI is affecting our society, whether we like it or not. Some people say it's making students lazy. They don't read again, they don't study, they don't do assignments, and all of that. Some people say it's making people do things they don't want to do. It's also helping a lot of people do good. So AI has societal impact, whether we like it or not. And these are probably some of the challenges that we have to face with it, just like with every technology that has come through time. And then the opportunities, AI is still in the early phase, a whole lot more tools will come out. That's why I said AI is a great equalizer. There are a whole lot of other tools that will keep helping people, organizations make maximal use of AI. And then AI improves human efficiency and our output. Imagine I ask a little question, ChatGPT gives me a full-fledged document. That's huge output for very little input. And then it's beneficial for underdeveloped and developing countries, just like also in social enterprises. These countries that don't have these resources for huge, like the huge companies, can stand the same chance if they stand on equal footing. And I think that is all I have, to talk about AI. But then in my next slide, I just want to talk about the other technologies to keep track of. Blockchain is a good one to keep track of. Virtual reality, we've heard of Apple Vision Pro and the likes. Internet of Things, data science, and then the future of AI. AI is still in the early stages. The future of AI is something we should also keep track of. And then to conclude, lastly, I'm going to say that AI is the equalizer. AI can be the great equalizer. But then you should be careful about how to use it. Just like every other technology that there is out there, consider cybersecurity best practices. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much, EBME. That was really, really insightful. Thank you for running us on the opportunities that exist with AI, as well as the challenges and challenges that we can likely face
Yeah.
interacting with such a technology. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll move on quickly to the Q&A segment. Of course, this is the time that I would call on those tuning in this afternoon or from wherever in the world to just type in the comment section the questions you have in mind. I know at a point during the session you highlighted that there was an opportunity for people to share the relative challenges
Yep.
they were facing in their different organizations in the utilization of AI. And
Yeah.
so I think this is the appropriate timing for such questions or challenges to pop up in the comment section. And definitely we will take our time to address those challenges and questions. So thank you once again, EBME. Very, very eye-opening, very in-depth session you've had with us in the first leg of the webinar. So running on quickly on onto the Q&A segment, I would want to ask my first question, which is
Okay.
around the how social enterprises and NGOs can leverage AI technologies now in terms of scaling their impact. Now, I love that you broke it down in a very simplified manner
Yeah.
as to how AI can serve as a customer service, serve as an assistant, serve as so many legs and so many operational terms within an organization. But
Yeah.
beyond that, many organizations are seeking opportunities as to how they can utilize this new technology to scale impact across the globe. How
Yeah.
can this be possible with the use of AI?
I think one big thing that AI brings to social enterprises, especially in terms of scale, when you are beginning to scale, one of the things you want to consider is your organization, because it's one of the things you consider as an organization. How organized are you to handle scale? Because while you want to scale, you have to be sure that you are ready and equipped to handle scale, which means a lot of companies we see when they begin to scale to other countries, they begin to employ more people, right? They begin to bring in more people, bring in people in different positions. They begin to do so many other things. So one of them is in the organization. Um, Starting from deciding how to organize yourself to scale, AI could you could use some tools like I mentioned, AI as a business analyst. You could use some tools to actually create a map for your scale. So from the onset of you are trying to scale, how do we scale our organization? Given that we do this, we do this, we do that, we are trying to scale to this, to this, to that, to that. There is an infinite knowledge base that some of these AI tools have, and they can tell you what to consider, what not to consider, languages to consider, what languages not to consider. Should you consider internationalization? Are you supposed to change some things? How should maybe your website should look like? What new roles do you need to employ people for? And what new places do you need to get people for? So in terms of organization, scale, your plan, AI can help immensely, because this time around you have access to knowledge that otherwise you could have paid researchers to do. So if you're trying to scale from maybe from Africa to Europe, ideally you would send people to go and research Europe, research a couple of places in Europe and see what the terrain is like, what they like. But you don't need to go all of there. You can use AI tools to ask, what is it like? And one important thing about AI, especially some AI tools, is you can make reference. So imagine an organization that has scaled efficiently, that is popular. You can say, we are an organization operating in 3 African countries. How do we scale considering how Toyota scaled into Europe, Asia, and in North America? Considering using Toyota's case study as reference, how can our company scale? It's going to help you out with a plan, an extensive plan that is detailed, and it can help you out from there. And the next thing that I would also talk about is in quality. One thing that we need a lot, especially when we want to scale, is maintain quality, because across different markets, one thing that is the quality your product offers, is the quality you offer. one thing that stays across markets. If you're in Europe or America or something, you want to retain quality. So you want to ensure that you have quality while you are scaling. And using AI tools would consistently give you quality outputs, and it's also one of the reasons why in organizations, when they scale, they move from manpower to automated machines, because automated machines can give you consistent quality output over manpower. But with AI, you can get consistent quality output. AI can plan ahead for you 2 years and give you step by step what to do along the way of the 2 years, and you can be sure that these are quality things that is going to give you along the line. So to scale, AI can help you plan it, AI can help you in executing it, and here I can help you, point you in the right directions, to scale. Even possible partnerships to engage in, AI can help you, analyze them and then tell you this is what you should do and this is what you should do next.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I love that. Again, you just broke it down in simple terms as to how AI can provide a ton of opportunities in the area of planning and executing your plans. I'm sorry, planning and executing the scale intentions of that
Yeah.
organization, and which is so insightful. I love again how you're lighting that with AI, you could also interact with the knowledge, the technical know-how that you
Yeah.
require, not just for now, but to make key projections
Yeah.
for the years to come, which is so brilliant. So we have a question here from Omolade Adebowale, which says, how can a social entrepreneur use AI to manage online community?
So managing online community, I would say I am someone that I love coming from a place of proper planning, right? It's something that I consider a lot. If you want to manage a community, you need a plan on how to manage your community. You need to create a schedule on what to do with your community, maybe sets of activities you want to carry out with your community, and things like that. So tell some of these tools. We run a social community, and this is the goal we have for the social community. These are probably our target market within this age range, and how can we create create a schedule for us, create an activity, a set of activities for us on how we can manage our social activity. Let me give maybe a little personal experience that I have in managing, say something similar to a social community with AI. There is this initiative we have that we are working on, and that is Hackfrica. Basically, it's a hackathon where people, young people that are trying to learn, are going to trying to learn tech, or something similar to that, are going to come and compete in a hackathon. From the beginning of the hackathon plan to the end, and the list of people I need and their qualifications, I got all of that from an AI tool. I was just interacting with the tool. Give me a plan. What people do I need to run a hackathon? What skills do I need? It told me I need a manager, I need a producer, I need a content creator, I need an audio person, a sound person. What calendar do you think the hackathon should have? What should day one be like? What should day two be like? I even went further. I'm trying to create suspense in this hackathon. How do I create suspense? It began to break all of these things down for me on how to go about this hackathon step by step. And all you just need to do is, okay, you can break it down really from your big plan of what you want to do with your community to what is my to do for today. And if you can find out what your to do for today is, then you can begin to execute day by day on how to run with your community. And some of these tools have history, is one of the importance. You can say, given what we did yesterday, day before yesterday, and last week, this was the result we got. And we are not getting the result we want. We would like to pivot into this. How do we go about it? To begin to give you step-by-step action plans on what to do with it.
Thank you so, so much, EBMA. I love how you shared that practical insight or example from your experience
Yeah.
interacting with AI to manage your online community. And I love how, most people may have not explored the use of AI in this direction. And that
Yeah.
was just so insightful. Thank you so much. So this moves me to my next question. So I know that you shared a very relative example using charity water. This NGO or social enterprise was trying to expand into Africa, extend its services and social services to Africa, and just really wanted to understand the terrain. In this regard, how can AI be used to improve access to education, healthcare, other essential services and impact areas for underserved communities, especially in Africa?
Okay. So I think one of the issues we have in Africa is one is the access to the education. Another is also the quality of the education, right? So with AI, we could draft out, and I think one big issue is maybe not big issue. I think the better word is a unique thing about Africa is that Africa's social and economic landscape is different from what we have in the Western world. Africa is a colorful continent. We are very religious, we are very cultural, and we value our tribe, we value our people. And with AI, we could begin to craft a curriculum that better fits our socio-economic landscape rather than going with curriculums that we have from the Western world that we just bring in and import. We can begin to create more personalized education that would better serve Africans, that would also consider our, like I said, our social and economic landscape. Africa is a developing continent, and in terms of that, we don't have a lot of resources for some things. So we need different strategies for education, and even more importantly, different people might have different educational needs. And with AI, working with AI, we can craft plans, we can craft execution plans, we can craft curriculums that we could work, we could discuss ideas. One other thing I mentioned is AI is intelligent, so you can actually discuss with an AI tool and share ideas like you are sharing ideas with someone. But this time around, the AI tool has a lot of database to work with. So we could craft plans that work and suit Africa's socioeconomic, you know, um, socioeconomic landscape better, and then create resources that could be also easier to access. Now, this is maybe one big secret. You could create learning resources with AI that would be not heavy on the phone. So now I'll mention maybe something like a practical example I talked about of Africa's social economic landscape. We are not a very rich country continent yet. We are still developing. So a lot of people don't have access to that data, right? Like data for phones, browsing data for phones. A lot of people don't have access to laptops. A lot of people use phones rather than laptops, right? So, but in other countries, if you want to learn, you want to learn ICT, you probably have a laptop to yourself, and things like that. So we could create resources, like I said, that fit our social economic environment, that are not heavy, that are effective, but they are not heavy on the phone. So if I have just 1 gig, I should be able to learn considerably. If I have just my mobile phone, I should be able to learn without having to, revert to when I have laptop to learn. So these are some of the things that we can consider for education in our continent in Africa with AI.
Brilliant, so powerful insights that you have shared. I just love how, again, very pragmatic the insights are. Of course, identifying some of the widely known challenges that Africa is facing in the area of adapting to new technologies, and particularly AI. And of course, how as social enterprises and NGO leaders, we can step in to bridge that learning gap using and deploying AI. And I love how, again, you highlighted some of the practical ways through which social innovators and change makers can do the needful, which is so powerful. So I have a question here from Timish Soineye. It says, how can we encourage organizations, especially in Nigeria, to embrace and accept the use of AI? Because I noticed it's difficult, especially among the older generation. This is a very great question.
Yeah, sure. I think this is a very, very good question, and this is a valid concern, right? And just most technologies, when they came to Africa, of course, they faced some resistance. And again, this is because of the social economic landscape of Africa. We are cultural, and I don't think AI is a very cultural thing. If it had to be a cultural thing that came into Africa, I think our parents would have a different disposition to it. Or if it were maybe a bit more religious, our older generations would have a bit more disposition to it. But then the best way to go about this, just like most technologies, is through education, really, educating them and enlightening them. And more people, just like some of these conversations we're having, and that is why I think Ideation Hub Africa, and what they do at what they do at Ideation Hub Africa is really, really important, because educating people, enlightening people, and then telling people the capabilities of AI, especially for a technology that is as powerful as AI, that also has capabilities or capacities to be used as evil in some places. It is important that there is constant education, constant enlightenment, constant training, and I think that's the one way, or the most effective way we can go about it. Awareness, right? Just like what Ideation Hub we are doing here with Ideation Hub, awareness training, capacity development, opening, letting people know what AI can be, can help them become more comfortable and welcome AI, more importantly. And I think just like most advanced technologies, that's how they've been approached. With proper awareness and proper training, people can begin to embrace AI better.
Thank you once again, EBME. Very, very beautiful response to that question. I love how, again, you highlighted the power of, again, educating everyone,
Yeah.
just creating that awareness. And that's what we're doing at Ideation of Africa, particularly in relations and in connection with, how social enterprises, social innovators, development practitioners, professionals can leverage AI and new technologies to scale social impact. And I also love again how you are highlighting the power of trainings as well. So these
Yeah.
trainings can be internally organized or outsourced where required. But in the long run, you cannot rule out the power of continuous learning and education in the scheme of things. So thank you so much, EBME, for that very insightful response to that question. So keep the questions coming in. I would ask EBME another question, but we're taking more questions from everyone tuned in. So just drop it in the chat section and we'll gladly respond to the question. All right, so my next question will be around how we could leverage collaborations and partnerships. So what role does collaborations and partnership play, or do collaboration and partnerships play in scaling AI-driven social impact initiatives for social enterprises and NGOs? That would be the first part question.
Okay, so I believe social enterprises, maybe because of some of the challenges we mentioned before, when we were during the presentation, some of the challenges with social enterprises, maybe because of some of the challenges of social enterprises, they've not been able to probably maximize or optimize their output or the value that they create, right? But with AI, social enterprises can begin to optimize, their output. And once social enterprises begin to, do more, then opportunities begins to open up. They can collaborate. If there's a social enterprise working on education and there's a social enterprise working on water, and they are trying to expand into the same, territory, they can work more better because they can do more with AI, and collaborations and partnership begin to come in. Something else that could also be that is also important, or why partnerships and collaboration is important, I would also maybe circle back to what I was talking about, what we do here, right? AI is still just in its beginning phase, so which means from now till the next couple of years, there's still going to be a lot of training, retraining, conversations with AI. So social enterprises can discuss, to come up with, rules, guidelines, best practices, how to use AI, how to optimize it, especially for social enterprises, because these are things that would be, extremely important for social enterprises, to take note of. So social enterprises can work in, crafting the use cases, and every other thing that is involved using AI, through collaboration. And given that they can work more and they can do more with AI, and social enterprises that can do maybe based on their specializations, they can come together in joint effort, and with AI helping to map, say, strategies, to do, how to go about it, and things that they can work together with. An organization in Nigeria could maybe work with Charity Water to be able to, like I mentioned, to be able to expand their reach in Nigeria, through AI, maybe by providing them with data that they need, right? Because AI uses data as, the lifeblood of making decisions. So social enterprises in Nigeria with AI can fine tune their data, can fine tune their resources, can come up with data that can be truly useful, and then partner with organizations, outside Nigeria, outside Africa, in another East African country. We just talked about, expansion of social enterprises not long ago. So this could also help, craft out plans where we could partner, what we could do. We merge our data and see what we can, informations and initiatives that we can come up together with, with our data. And these are just some of the things social enterprises could explore together in partnership and collaboration with AI.
Thank you so much, EBME. Again, very pragmatic. I love how again you're just highlighting feasible ways through which social enterprises can leverage AI. And I love how you just pinpointed key points around how these collaborations and partnerships can happen, particularly around data generation and data management. And we all understand that when we speak about the African terrain, we have not really documented. We don't have well documented data, particularly for this terrain. Even when you conduct research online, you find a lot of data, in line with what is happening in the Western world and in developed countries. So definitely this is an insightful way that social enterprises and NGO leaders can plug in and position themselves as strategic collaborators and partners. Thank you once again, EBME. All right. So I know that along the line of you sharing during the presentation, you highlighted some technologies, other technologies that we can take into cognizance as impact-driven organizations. I would want to ask um, questions in that direction again. Now, I wanted to just dive in, narrow it down to technologies that exist or that currently exist that and are available for impact-driven organizations and also for social enterprises, NGOs, and how they can leverage these technologies in running their day-to-day operations within their organizations.
Okay, I think this is a really important one, especially in terms of technologies that are available. And this is also something I try to promote a lot when I try to discuss with people. We are at the age of well, I believe it is going to keep improving, but technology has advanced a lot in the current age where we are at. And there are a lot of amazing technologies. Blockchain had, before AI became, quite prominent, blockchain was prominent, a couple of, years ago. And because of that, there are some blockchains that have been developed, and social enterprises, given blockchain helps you to save data in decentralized way, right? The whole idea of blockchain is, decentralized authority, and things like that. So we could help save data. We could create NFTs, right? And these are NFTs is built on the blockchain technology, and NFTs are rewards that people truly value. Imagine for every child I feed, I have an NFT to show for that, for a sort of reward. For every social good you do, you gain an NFT for that. For every social work you do, you gain an, and That way, it can easily be traced back to where it came from. Decentralized data can be truly powerful. Blockchains can be used, to help scale data and help manage data properly in and transparency, which is probably one of the challenges some social enterprises might face. Some people might lack full trust in. Some people still have some barriers to interacting with social enterprises, maybe because of trust. And with these technologies, you could show that, like what maybe Charity Water did, or maybe taking it a step further on a blockchain with an NFT, you could actually show that I built a well in Uganda, and with this, I can show for it, because it's available on the blockchain and it can always be made access to, and then funds, and things like that it can be showed, the track can be showed on the NFTs, and that is one. And the second thing is Internet of Things. Given that we are talking of AI and we are talking of data, there are numerous ways where we could gather data. There are places, especially in Africa and generally in Africa, yes, there are places than ones, right? This is like a practical example. There are places, because of the distance, right? There are places you might not be able to go more than once, and your social impact probably extends to those places. You could put some devices that connect remotely and then feeds back data back to you in your office in Uganda, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, somewhere, and you don't have to be there. And these are Internet of Things, and you could connect to the satellite, and you could get real-time information that could help you, make impact. If you are tracking the rain, if you are tracking the water level, if there are different things you are tracking as your organization, depending on the social impact you are doing, you could gather real-time data that could help you, make more impact, in the society. And that is just some things you could do with Internet of Things. And then virtual reality, especially in the area of education. Facebook, a couple of years ago, made their own Facebook Quest 2. Now they have Quest 2, which is an immersive experience from learning to rehabilitation. And this could really, really, really help, especially for NGOs that are focused in medicine. For rehabilitation in African countries where we have a high number of people that suffer maybe amputation based on diabetes or any other related accidents. And people have to go through rehab and go through trainings, have to see a physiotherapist. With virtual reality, the core advantage of virtual reality is giving you experiences that you would otherwise not have had, right? And if you can experience yourself with a doctor, maybe elderly care, or things like that through virtual reality, of course, you'd have trained and people are much more comfortable with these technologies. You can reach places, and this is what we're talking about, scaling. And these are some of the technologies that could actually help NGOs scale. You can reach places where you cannot reach with technologies. You can do much more. You can scale your impact. You can use just one VR device, just one single VR device for medical assistance, and use it on 10, 15, 20 people within 6 months period. Just one device can be used on 10, 20 people in a particular facility. Something that it would have taken maybe 5 or 6 physiotherapists to be there working with 10, 20 people. Just one person with a VR device can be working and assisting, everybody in the facility, and things could. And these are, some of the future of these are like some of the future techs that are already available present now that people can use. And lastly, you talked about data, and we can really, really optimize the use of data. Of course, data has been something that has been around for a long time, but data science and data analytics are becoming way more prominent. And I don't think Africa as a country, we are exactly very good at being data driven as a continent. Sorry, Africa as a continent, we've not been very meticulous with our data driven insights that we've been working on. And this could help make massive impact. If you can track the amount of medications you give out and how it helps people, you could know how to work around the medications. If you can track the number of students that have learned, maybe you're working with education, you see students that have learned maybe through a particular teacher or the other teacher, you can see what style does this teacher use in teaching that we could replicate. Is this teacher a does he maybe show more examples? How does this teacher teach that makes this teacher more efficient with students, and others maybe not as efficient? And with this data, you can tell other teachers, okay, when you want to teach, try to incorporate this into this. And There are a lot of ways we could make really insightful data from. We could make really insightful decisions from data that we maximize in Africa.
Thank you so much, EBME. Thank you so, so much. There was a slight network glitch, and I didn't know you would round it up in
Yeah.
responding to that question. Thank you so, so much. Thank you for also running us through the other technologies that exist. Um, and these technologies be um, can be strategically leveraged by social innovators and change makers. So I have a question from Mary Jane Igbe, which goes first. How can AI be used by entrepreneurs to grow their businesses? I know you have answered this question during your presentation when you sort of spoke about the challenges and opportunities, but you could also dive in a particular direction.
Yeah. So I think for businesses that want to use AIs, I think what I would say is looking at the guidelines of AI. The first thing I would say is understand your use case and define clear objectives, right? If as an organization you understand truly the power of AI and what AI can do for you, first thing is to understand where do you want to use AI. You know that AI is artificial intelligence. Learn as much as you can learn about it, see the tools that are available outside, then look at your organization, look inward. Where do you want to use AI? After deciding where you want to use AI, then discuss with your organization because AI has impact on the team. Where can we use this? Can we all learn how to, and all of that? After discussing with your team, then begin to deploy AI in those particular use cases. Of course, use it to plan, use it to, I discussed in, use it to plan, use it to execute. If you have decided on where you want to use AI as, say, as a software developer, as a content manager, as a personal assistant, then go around and look for the best AI tools that are probably there out there, or the ones that you could afford that could help you, do what you want to do, and then continue with that particular tool. But then clarifying, I think what I would want to emphasize on this is have a clear objective and a use case for it, because that way you can get the best out of AI. But if you just go about you want to use AI for your organization without knowing how to focus on it, then you could just find yourself from one tool to the other, not knowing what you truly want. But have a clear objective. We want AI to help improve our software development. You know what you're looking for is Copilot and nothing more. So you focus on Copilot. We want to use AI, for operational documents, for plans, and strategies. And we have decided all we want to use is ChatGPT. And we use only that because there are security issues with AI. So you wouldn't want to violate privacy. Knowing what you want to do with it helps you plan and take the best practices with it, rather than just use AI for whatever you want to use AI for in the organization.
Thank you so much, EBME. We have had a very powerful and enlightening session. It's really been a blessing having you on board. I just love again how you granted us an expose into the possibilities that exist with AI and also the existing challenges. And I love how you just kept leveraging that fact, which is AI is currently at its early phase, and we have not really maximized, the potentials that exist with this technology. So, as humans, we have so much creativity, so much innovation on the inside of us. There is so much more that we can bring to the fore, in the light of exploring and leveraging these new technologies. And that was indeed very profound. So, just before we round up today's webinar, I would want you to just share with us in maybe 60 seconds or more your final words, and also share with us how young and burdened leaders within the social enterprise space or within the development space, how they can benefit from introducing AI into their organizations and operations.
Okay, thank you. One thing I would say is I am very, very passionate about AI. not just AI. I'm also passionate about Africa as a continent. I'm passionate about Nigerians. I am passionate about seeing people do more because I know that we are capable of doing more. And I would go back to something I mentioned before. I would say AI can be the great equalizer. They say that Africans, and we are a developing continent, right? And there are already developed countries out there. But with tools like AI, we can compete on equal footing. We can, make decisions that can be questioned and contested on a global stage. So AI can be the great equalizer, but then we should always watch out for best practices while using AI. It can also be a big issue for us if you give a too powerful weapon to someone that does not know how to use it, it can be used against the person. So AI can be the great equalizer. I would advise young people to use AI. I would advise social entrepreneurs to use AI in the best way and try to maximize the input, the results, their results, and their value with AI while following the best practices. Because it's also important to watch out for what needs to consider in terms of best practices with AI.
Thank you so much, EBMA, and to everyone tuned in this afternoon or from whatever time zone across the world. We say a mega thank you to you. I want to see you just type in the chat section. Has this webinar been impactful? How valuable has this new knowledge or insights that you've garnered? How would you quantify it? I would want to just hear or just see some of this feedback in the comment section. And also, let's just seize that opportunity to appreciate our guest speaker in the person of EBME, is the founder of the Learnly Hub. And of course, there are many more things to come in the weeks ahead of us, and you just see as these things unravel itself. And of course, our community members would definitely have access to the things we have in store or the plans we have in store in the coming weeks ahead. All right, just thank you so much, Tolu Shua Alufai. I'm sorry if you murdered your name. I'm sorry. But thank you for that feedback. According to her, she says it's been explosive. Thank you. So we want to get to read more of this insightful feedback. Thank you, Adeshawa. She says, thank you, Pedro. The webinar was really insightful. Thank you. Thank you. So this is one good way, a great way that we're able to get the feedback from our community members and those tuned in real time, and also assures us of the fact that we're right on track as an organization, speaking and dissecting topics that are relevant to this time and also of high value to social enterprises and NGOs. Timmy Shoshone says it was an impactful session. Thank you, EBME Pedro. And I'm sure many others corroborate most of this valuable feedback that we've received. So in that light, I will also say, don't just stop here by tuning in, month out, joining us at our webinars, social impact webinars, specially curated for social enterprises and NGO leaders, anyone who is passionate about birthing sustainable and transformative impact. Beyond that, we also want you to stay plugged in into this community, into this ecosystem, so you can go to our various handles across different social media platforms, like, comment, follow us, click on the link in our bio and see various ways through which you can interact, directly engage. There are courses that we have available at highly discounted prices that you can leverage. Visit the Social Innovation School today. That you have it scrolling through the website. Sorry, scrolling through the screen. I meant to say the website. The link is scrolling through the screen at the moment. You can also visit our IG page, our LinkedIn. I know that we have lots of people tuned in from LinkedIn today as well. So you can visit our company page, Ideation of Africa, click on the link in the bio, and you can see various ways through which you can interact and engage with us. We also have free resources. We currently put together a very insightful resource in the light of public leadership. Are you passionate about nation building? We have that sitting pretty in the link in our bio. So just get in there, download the public leadership roadmap. Everyone is a champion of nation building. We are all advocates for building our nation and also for good governance. So, how do we understand lining up against data-driven and well-researched insights? So, in that light, download that resource and interact. It was, well-researched, excellently curated, and you can just tap into that valuable resource and many more. Many more ways through which you can interact and directly become a member of this ecosystem. Thank you also, Yinka, David. You also are sharing your feedback and we appreciate it. All right, so we are imploring everyone, join us next at the next edition, which will be July next month. And of course, in advance, we're wishing each of you a happy new month. We know it's going to be the beginning of a new half of the second half of the year. Regardless of whatever the half has been for you, don't dumb down, don't beat yourself over. This is, of course, a new time to start afresh, to renew your goals and sit in to strategize. And we have something in that light coming up ahead of the July edition. So just keep your fingers crossed and look out for the announcement across our social media platforms. Thank you also, Mary Jane, for your feedback as well. It is indeed very valuable. Till next time, we'll say bye for now, and we look forward to continuously interacting with each of you, our valuable community members. And of course, if you're not yet a valid and valuable member of Ideation of Africa, please, here is my roll call, here is my charge. Come on board. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Bye for now. And IBM is saying bye. Oh, just before we take our leave, IBM, is there any way through which our community can interact with you? We know that there are things in the works, but you could just share, any way through which they could also directly interact with you. That is maybe any of your social media platforms or any other communication channel.
My social media platforms, all my social media handles at IBM Pedro, Instagram, Twitter, Medium, on LinkedIn, IBM Pedro Sani, and you'd find me there. So I try to keep it, simple, IBM Pedro on everywhere. So everywhere you just search for IBM Pedro, you should be able to see me.
All right. Thank you so much, BME. And we say to everyone, see you at the next edition of the Social Impact Webinar. Ensure and endeavor to invite all of your friends, your community members, those within your sphere of influence. They must not miss out on the next edition. And we say bye for now.